So I might have mentioned this before sometime in my previous videos, but when I'm not slaving away doing personal finance videos like this, I work in the advertising industry. And over the years, I've seen a range of stuff. Some are really interesting and useful marketing initiatives that are helpful for customers, and some are really crude, which are just telling you that buy more and you save more. So if you've ever thought about some of these marketing tricks that companies use, or you feel like you want to be more aware of what they're doing to you to get more of your money, you're in luck. So today, that's what I'll be covering, some of the major tricks that these industries use. And on top of that, of course, how do you guard against it? And hopefully you play the game and not let the game play you. What's up guys, it's Sunmin again and welcome back to Your Money Game, the show where we get better with saving, spending and investing. Unless you're an Amish, you really shouldn't be surprised that the vast majority of companies out there are trying to get as much money out of you. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, and of course I'm a little biased since I work in the ad industry, but it becomes a problem if you find yourself not being able to be in control or it's doing things to you that perhaps you're not very aware of. So for those non-marketers out there, let me quickly explain the 3 principles that guide most of these businesses. The first principle is creating value. Now, this shouldn't be a shocker. All businesses create something that hopefully fulfills a need that you have, but you'll be surprised just how many companies create something in hopes that they find a need. The second principle is communicating that value. So of course, they do a bunch of research to try and understand you better, and then you work with partners, advertising agencies like the one I work in, and then you work with media agencies as well. So where we craft messages and then we buy advertising space so that we can reach you and hopefully get you curious about their products. And the last principle is capturing of that value. So of course, after you've hopefully gotten you interested in the product, what they then try to do is make sure you follow through and make that transaction. And they do this with a wide array of methods to break down as many barriers as possible for you to make that decision. And underneath these 3 principles, they use a million different tactics. And some of them you'll probably recognize. So if you've ever walked into a store and they say, hey, you buy product A and you get a free gift, yes, that's really just there to entice you to make that purchase decision. Another common trick is when they use price displays using phrases like from as low as or starting from. That's really just there to get you curious because you go, wow, that's so cheap. Now I won't focus on these smaller ones too much and instead focus on the 5 major tricks that I think the industry uses that are potentially more harmful to your wallet. And of course, these aren't illegal. They're simply standard practices that the industry has. Now, the first one builds on the principle that everybody loves a great deal. If you've ever been to any form of store, particularly e-commerce players, it is so commonplace to see price slashes that indicate that you're saving a whole lot through a discount. Particularly with lesser known brands, it's commonplace for them to inflate the actual price and then discount it artificially to make it seem as if that you're making a great saving. This tactic works really well for those of us that are not really regular shoppers like myself, or you're just really not familiar with the category at all. Next are terms and conditions or examples that can potentially be misleading. Now, this literally happened to me a couple of weeks ago where I pre-ordered a game that I was really excited to get called Cyberpunk 2077. What developers were showing off and hyping for months over really displayed the best case scenario where everything looked amazing. And instead, what I got really was like a slap in the face. Now, these guys weren't outright lying, but I do feel that they were misrepresenting what the product experience would have been. So that's just in the realm of product demonstrations and examples and claims of what it could do. Another common place where you really see this practice is usually in any form of terms and conditions used by discount coupons. And these could be different hoops that you need to jump through, or maybe even just conditions that really are unrealistic. And to be honest, this is a timeless tactic that marketers use to walk a very fine line between telling you a truth and at the same time pushing the boundaries of what that truth really is. And you see this a lot, particularly in health food categories. What's also timeless and isn't a trick is that when you click on that like button, the gods of YouTube will determine that this video is worthy and will push it out to more people in the universe. The third major tactic is getting you to hit a limit before they give you a benefit. You see this practice commonly found especially in e-commerce sites where they're telling you to spend above a certain amount before they either give you a discount or they give you a free delivery. You see this plenty of times in the credit card industry as well, where when you get a new credit card, you're encouraged to spend above a certain amount before they give you their free gift. And again, there's nothing really wrong with that because they're simply trying to recover the cost. But if you end up spending a little bit more than you intended just to hit that limit, and I know you've done that before, you really might not be benefiting from it. As a side note here, for those of you again not in marketing, there is an industry term used which is average revenue per user. And that's a way that a lot of these guys measure their form of success. So if you're a customer of an e-commerce site and if you're spending say $100 every month, their mission is to get you to spend more than that 100. And they use many different tactics to do it, and this is simply one of them. Next are gamification techniques that they're using to try and engage you as a customer. And that's just a fancy term that's used to describe how the marketing industry has learned a lot of lessons from the gaming industry about how they really keep players engaged. Ever wondered why companies create games, contests, reward you for logging in, make sure you try and participate in this game, and then on top of that give you badges? It's usually the goal of trying to win your loyalty and hopefully increase the revenues from you as well. But that doesn't sound so bad, right? I mean, games are fun and you're in control, right? But what's also true is that the more engaged you are with these systems, the more you're likely to be exposed to different deals, and of course, the more likely you are to spend. I've saved the worst for last because I think it's the most effective in triggering a decision. And this is the use of limited time offers or limited quantity offers. And this is something that I experienced again a couple of weeks back. So I went on this 4-day cruise thing, and on that cruise there was this sales representative of an orthopedics company. You know those guys that kind of sell you shoe inserts? So the sales rep was really good. They had this really interesting demonstration, very persuasive. And of course, when it came to the price reveal, that's where the sales tactic comes in. Oh sir, if you get this right now, of course you get a discount, and on top of that, it's only available for cruise participants, and if you go anywhere else around the world, you're going to be spending more for this product. And knowing all these tricks, I still felt that urge because it's only human to want to score that deal, and if that product was useful, hey, why not buy it right now? And this trick is used everywhere, and it's simply businesses trying their best to make sure they create this thing called a scarcity effect. And that simply means that when there is less available product or less available time, you increase the amount of pressure that you have inside to make that decision. In some cases, sure, it's really a limited quantity of the product, but more often than not, it's really there to pressure you to whip out that credit card. So with those 5 major tricks out of the way, let's quickly talk about the 4 simple habits that we can take as customers. First is to try and make more of your purchases planned rather than on impulse. That way, you're less swayed by a random offer. Next is to be a great researcher of prices and trying to understand what a good baseline is. And that way you can tell what's a genuinely good deal or not. Next is that when you're tempted by something that you really want, ask yourself hey, is that really something you need right now? Because prices tend to fall over time. And if you don't need it right now, you can always delay the purchase. And finally, whenever you see a great sales demonstration, always understand that it is there and it's orchestrated very thoughtfully to make sure that it's highly persuasive. It's always useful for us as customers to apply a lens of skepticism. Remember that what you see is always the best case scenario, so it's useful to think and ask what normally happens or what could possibly go wrong. At the end of the day, we're all a target customer to some company out there, and as long as you're aware of these tricks, apply some of those good habits and stay in control, you'll make it out okay in 2020 and in 2021. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, I would really appreciate your support in clicking the like, subscribe, as well as that bell button, because I'll be back again next Sunday with the last video of 2020. And until then, you take care and keep playing your own game.